Hi guys, hello SAP community and welcome to our SAP Community Call today. Thanks for joining. We're live here now on YouTube with the SAP Activate team, and you guys are interested in frequently overlooked concepts during an SAP S/4HANA implementation. I'm Lena from the SAP Community and Influencers team, and I am moderating this call today with the SAP Activate team. So just a second. I'm hearing myself twice. That is a little bit strange. I'll try to continue, but that's strange in my head because I hear myself twice. I have to double check on that. Is everyone hearing me okay? Nishat, can you confirm?
We all listen to you. Yes, Lena.
Okay, all good?
All good.
All right, perfect. Then I would like to introduce our speakers. We have speakers from various areas, from the SAP S/4HANA team and the SAP Activate team. Andreas Muno, Ying Huang, Christina Galbraith, and Irene Dennehy, who are going to present to you today. We have Q&A towards the end, where we will have Nishat Fatima, who is my key enabler from the SAP Activate team, moderating the Q&A. And therefore, you need to be logged into YouTube, and you can directly ask your questions in the chat here in YouTube. With that being said, I'll hand over to you, Nishat.
Thank you, Lena. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Nishat Fatima. I am the SAP Activate Community Lead. We're super excited to have you here today and to talk about the frequently overlooked concepts of an S/4HANA implementation. And then we have 4 speakers today, as Lena mentioned, and we'll kind of go through the concepts. We'll talk about change management. We'll talk about customer COE. We'll talk about experience management transformation, and really get into the Q&A. So please utilize the YouTube chat as we go on. We'll we'll keep an eye out on the questions, and at the end, I'll make sure to bring it to the speaker so your questions get answered. And any questions that we don't answer today, we usually follow that up with the blog post. So keep an eye out for that on the community. We'll post links in the chat as the conversation goes on. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to Irina.
Thank you, Nishat. Can you hear me well? Yeah?
Yep, we can hear you.
Great. So I'm going to kick off this with an overview of the concept of organizational change management. And I will start by pointing the fundamental difference between digital transformation and an IT implementation. So in project delivery or IT implementation, we have configuration, data, systems integrations, implementation of services, to say just a few. All of this relates to product change. In a digital transformation, we have a journey which comprehends not only the product change, but people's change, thus affecting the whole organization. The relationship between people and product change is what we aim to cover in this session. So I'm going to start talking about pain. So what happens when somebody is in pain? We treat it, right? So I want you to picture an organization in pain and what we may say, a business that's not doing so well or not generating revenue, for example. The business could have slowed down due to several external or internal circumstances, or both combined. Whatever motive this has happened, there is a call for change. So people search for new solutions, define a new strategy and a new vision for this company. Usually there is an investment in new technologies, and just like many peers on its industry, this company is opting to move their systems to cloud. So pre-sales and sales conversations happen, deals are agreed and contracts signed, and an implementation project kicks off. Stakeholders get very busy with the technical aspect of the project, and it's often the case that the attention shifts away from people to focus on the product itself. It's quite easy to forget the main reason why the implementation is taking place, which is people. So as everyone gets totally absorbed to meet deadlines and finishing on time, for example, the main motivation for the project can easily be overlooked. So it's right to say that the digital transformation is actually about the journey of the people into the new technology, a journey of change, which may require a new mindset. Change brings further tension and pain between the organization and the new product. So OCM, or Organizational Change Management, is the framework that helps address this tension. So I'm going to ask you to please think for a moment of your own cloud transformation. You might be planning it, you might be going through it now, or you have done it in the past. So whether it was pain or crisis, or whether it was the growth strategy for the company that motivates the move to cloud, the company, the truth is there is always a transition on the company. So, and this transition needs to be managed appropriately with a budget and with planned resources for an organizational change management work stream. This investment is, of course, proportional to the size and reach of the company, but it has to happen one way or another. Because this transition is more than just an IT implementation, because it affects business processes, people, and operations, it calls to a certain mindset. So what we usually call the cloud mindset. OCM addresses the mindset challenges that come with change, enabling teams and individuals to adopt a new way of working. It supports and sustains the cloud mindset in the organization, which allows people to make the most of the new cloud solution. Cloud technology is a massive investment for any business. So to ensure that you're getting the value for your investment, you will need to be prepared to continuously adopt the solution, the new scope items, and the continuous innovations. Today, we hope that we can give you some pointers on how SAP offers resources and enablement to help people and your company in the journey of digital transformation. The more a company is eager to adopt a cloud solution, the more intensely people have to be aware of this mindset. And we are now going to focus on the 6 major challenges a digital transformation poses to any organization and to us as individuals as well. So, first challenge is, are all employees and users aware of the business vision and objectives for this transformation? Have these been clearly communicated to everyone? Or is this information restricted perhaps just to management layers or the business leaders? Do people understand why is there going to be a transition? Number 2, are company leaders announcing that the local IT system is moving to cloud in a way that the company gets fully aware that will be a change on the way people work, and perhaps even some roles and functions will change? Number 3, is there awareness of agile methodologies? And in the case of SAP S/4HANA Cloud, for example, are people engaged in the Activate methodology? And 4th challenge, are people in the organization prepared to change their processes to embrace best practices of a cloud solution? A little bit more technical challenge is there an understanding that the landscape and is integrating may have challenges? So public API of cloud solutions may or may not fit the legacy requirements. And lastly, is the organization prepared for the continuous innovation and continuous updates in the system? So if the answer for these questions is yes, then the move to cloud is set to success. But if the answer is no, we have risks, quite high risks can be. So assessing this risk as early as possible in the pre-sales conversations is essential. So to give people a chance to understand what is coming. Sadly, though, in some cases, this does not happen. Precisely because the thought of change is painful, it brings up uncertainty and risk. These conversations, which are pain point conversations, sometimes are avoided so that they don't compromise the change and the signing of contracts to go to cloud. But what if we actually saw these pain points in a different light? As we say, no pain, no gain, right? So what if we see pain points as opportunities? What if we tune in with our innate desire for improvement and approach risk with a growth mindset? So it sounds more like it, at least I like it, because the majority of us actually like to see ourselves with like innovative. We buy the latest gadgets, we buy, we get on to all these new technologies. So most of us like to think ourselves as having the growth mindset. However, when we actually go deeper and start using these technologies, we find it difficult to deal with the change. We find hard to, get rid of old habits and use new. I think we all experience that, say, with new apps or new functionalities on our mobile phones. So what is required here in a cloud transformation and in this change is for individuals to be willing to step outside their comfort zone. And when we step outside, it's a positive change that is positively stepping out of comfort zone. So I'm going now to compare and tell a small story of a train journey and compare the digital transformation to a train journey. Firstly, we have to know where we are going. So the vision and the company strategy has to be clearly communicated and the direction has to be crystal clear. We buy the ticket because we know where and why we're traveling. Similarly, in our businesses, we know where we're heading and our goals and objectives are aligned with the company's objectives. So we are willing to go through the pain of change because we believe the outcome will be better. So our company will do better, and eventually I will have a job next year. Secondly, the whole organization must be involved. So not only a few, not only the leads or the IT implementers, all business users, all employees must be there on time in the platform, just as the train arrives to start their journey together. As cloud implementations tend to get faster and faster, and as people don't function quite like robots, the preparation needs to start in time in order to prepare people for the pace and not to miss any steps of that journey, not to miss the train. So once in the train, you should be comfortably seated and actually you should be enjoying that journey. The multiple resources, self-enablement, methodology, and accelerators of a cloud implementation can be compared to the drinks and perks that come on a first-class service. The change of habits and sometimes the uncertainty of your role in the future can be compared, for example, with your train seat or the length of the journey or a little motion sickness. No matter what, in this journey, you must trust yourself. You must trust the crew, trust the processes. Others actually have done it before and it worked. So there is that element of trust. And still during the journey, you get the opportunities to talk to the people that are seated beside you. Just as in your transformation, you should get the chance to discuss your concerns, your ideas, to brainstorm a new way of working with your peers and your management. So you seize the day and you make each challenge into a new opportunity for growth. In summary, change for good is a well-managed digital transformation, which inspires new ways of working with a new mindset. So I'm talking about a people-centric transformation. the attention is in user experience, to leverage feedback and to ensure alignment between product change and people's change. And this will be presented a little bit later. It also increases collaboration with virtual engagement platforms such as Teams, whiteboards, virtual meetings. There is peer-to-peer learning and project transparency. So everyone in the team is involved and has access to the same resources. So people are empowered from a silos mentality, where information used to be just reserved to a few. We work together to make the business more successful. And last but not the least, sustainability. Digital transformation becomes sustainable institution within the organization. So there are multidisciplinary teams to ensure the continuous innovations are adopted by the users, and ultimately the company benefits from the ever increasing value of the cloud subscription. I ask now Andreas to explain in further detail how this exactly happens in SAP S/4HANA Cloud, and then Nishat and Christina and Ying as well will explain the user experience. We will all be available at the end to answer further questions you may have, which will strongly encourage you to start asking or commenting. All the feedback will be mostly appreciated. Thank you for being here. Andreas, over to you.
Thank you, Irene, and thank you for explaining the main concepts of organizational change management here to us. I'm gonna
you want to share? Yes. Will I
share?
Stop
yeah, I hope.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Is it working yet?
Yes, absolutely.
Wonderful. So, thank you again, Irene. That was great introduction of the concepts. Organizational change management obviously is important enough to be mentioned here as one of those sometimes forgotten, sometimes underappreciated topics in software implementations, especially when you move towards the cloud. Well, luckily, with SAP Activate, the implementation methodology for SAP ERP solutions on-premise in the cloud, we do have methodology available. And when we look here at the bottom, SAP Activate covers the all the different phases of a project, and organizational change management, as you may guess here, is happening throughout all of those phases. When we move forward a little, you see, so there are many dimensions of organizational change management that need to get addressed throughout the project. You will need to set up an organizational change management team and its network. You will need to find ways how to engage with stakeholders and then communicate the plans that are being made, why they're being made, and how you're actually trying to execute organizational change throughout the organization. And then you will have to make plans for the actual transition. So some point in time in the project, you'll have to figure out what the change actually is and how to make it happen within the organization with the different people who are going to be affected by changing business processes, different activities. Their roles might change. So that has to be addressed. And that may require some learning, some skill improvements, some new skills to be learned. So learning is a dimension to look after. And then, of course, you would want to measure the outcomes of your organizational change management activities. Is it working? Are the employees responding properly to it? What suggestions might they have to keep improving the ways how the organization changes? And then, like especially in the cloud, in subscription-based services, they would be required to actually sustain the notion of change with the organization. Irene alluded to that quite a bit. You see, like in SAP Activate, like across all those different phases of Activate, there are certain tasks that span over the course of projects. You have to set up your team and develop those concepts. You have to analyze what the change is and then plan to implement it. Eventually, you actually have to go and deliver it and then monitor. I mentioned that. And then there is something like continuous adoption that will have to happen. So if you have never thought about organizational change as something that might be important in a project, to see there's actually a lot to be done. And there are like many activities that need to happen throughout. There's the notion of agility. You have to make sure that your organization is agile enough to actually adopt the future change that is coming. And there's always that question of who should actually be in charge of organizational change management. Is it the organization itself? If you're the customer in this organization, like, would you like to take it on yourself? Do you have the right skills available yourself? Or would you want to have an SAP partner, for example, to take that on? When you have those conversations initially at the outset of your project, that's a typical conversation to be had within the RISE with SAP Cloud Solution Adoption Framework. Right, that's one of those conversations. That framework offers many items that are already predefined as part of the RISE with SAP contract. But there are many other items that are up for negotiation. And organizational change management is one of those items that is up for negotiation between you and your implementation partner. So if you have the skills, well, why don't you go ahead and do it, right? Use the SAP Activate content and go along with it. And then at those inflection points, you see down here those yellow hexagons, right? Those are basically the quality gates between the phases. And at these inflection points, at least you would discuss with your implementation partner how well you've been doing so far with the organizational change management activities. Or if you want to hire a partner, we have plenty of SAP partners available to you. So they are well qualified in organizational change. Many are well qualified in organizational change management. And then SAP itself, we have pretty well trained consultants available for organizational change management if you want to tap into those. But we won't leave you alone just right there. There is more to it. So we have, with SAP Activate, we have plenty of accelerators available that support you with actually implementing organizational change for your transition into the cloud, for your digital transformation. When you look at the first part here, the setting up of your organizational change management team and developing the respective concepts, developing the concepts, you can now tap into accelerators that support the virtual engagement, like developing those concepts in a team that is completely virtual, can work is now supported with respective templates in collaboration platforms like Mural or Miro, that you can work with those templates at your own ease. When it comes to developing learning concepts that go beyond the best practices, the test scripts that are delivered with the SAP Activate content and with the S/4HANA Cloud or the S/4HANA product, you can develop your own based on SAP Enable Now. And when it comes to sustainability, you have basically multiple options how you go about that. So the idea here is that you would want to maintain change and like organizational change as a topic of attention and of like a professional dealing with it in your organization. And there's a spectrum of how you might want to go about it. You can either basically hand it over to the different business units and skill them up to be able to perform all the activities needed for organizational change management, or you can centralize those activities, perhaps in a customer center of excellence. So customer center of excellence, that concept is not exactly new. We've been having that for a long time with SAP customers. And usually it was the very big ones that took it on to really operate from a IT perspective and from a business perspective jointly to achieve really good service excellence, to achieve cost excellence, but remain oriented towards the needs of the business and deliver business value throughout. So this capability framework has been developed many years ago, and it's still quite valid and valuable. Now with the transition to cloud and subscription business software, the advantage is you have more flexibility as an SAP customer to actually implement customer COEs, right? So you don't have to have all of the employees on the CCOE be like full-time hires. You can think of like staff augmentation through experts from partners. You can think of like having even like virtual customer COEs where some experts may be from your lines of business, some experts might be from a partner or even from SAP that you would just hire on a contract or on an actual subscription base, right? And even here, so if you're completely new to the concept of customer COE, SAP has services available to set up the foundation of your center of excellence, so you can get started with the right activities to bring it to life, and you'll be able and like run your CCOE as a customer within probably a few weeks. Now, there's one last aspect here that that Ying is going to take over from, and that is about efficacy. So you would want to be able to measure how well you're actually doing with your organizational change management efforts. And one of the ways to do that, of course, is through surveys of your employees. And for surveying, that's basically one of those aspects that experience management takes well care of. And therefore, I can now hand over to Ying.
Well, thanks, Andrea. Let me share my screen. Well, I'm not sure how many people on the call have similar experience like I do. I started implementing SAP ERP solutions since the 3.1H version, which is quite some years ago. But as the times fly by, my expertise in business processes, SAP solution features, and system configuration definitely grew and expanded. However, the more technical skills I gained, the more I see the importance of the people aspect can potentially make project either a success or a failure, especially in the longer term when the rubber hits the road, a solution is being utilized by the users of the company in their day-to-day operations. So SAP Activate Roadmap for Rise with SAP S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition recently introduced the use of the experience management in digital transformation projects. In the introduction to Experience Economy Accelerator, you can find examples and statistics on how experience management leadership examples and plays an important role in the overall success of the companies. It also showcased the practice of engaging stakeholders across all aspects of their relationship journeys, positively influencing utilization, satisfaction, and advocacy of new solution like SAP S/4HANA. For those of you who have not accessed our roadmap in the past, here is a quick view of how the roadmap viewer looks like. In the Explore or Roadmap section, you will find that our Rise with SAP Private Edition roadmap. And when you get into the roadmap, you will see a new feature specifically created for the experience management transformation. It highlights all the tasks that will help our IT professionals who are working on SAP S/4HANA projects become familiar with experience management in their digital transformation journey and learn how to safeguard the success of the implementation using experience management principles, which is listen, understand, and act. In addition to the previously mentioned, experience management slide, there are also more detailed walkthrough of the procedure on how to use the survey questions to capture the project team's experience and business users' experience throughout the course of the implementation and in the run phase after go live. Readiness assessment survey, for example, is the first round of feedback collection, which will serve as a baseline for the transformation journey. Program goal alignment survey aims to collect a core project team's cloud mindset adoption and shed light on the core project team's current engagement and sentiment. Solution validation survey is conducted after the Fit to Standard workshop to ensure subject matter experts feel confident that the scope of the project will meet the future state business processes requirements of the company. Surveys on user acceptance test readiness and training satisfaction helps ensure UAT runs smoothly within the designated time frame and safeguard the adoption of the solution. Project performance survey is used throughout explore, realize, and deploy phases. It is sometimes combined together with other surveys for the related milestones so that relevant respondents will not have to answer two different surveys in a tight time period. Tracking goal surveys conducted at the beginning and at the end of the deploy phase not only supports organization change management activities, but also invites participants to give recommendations for improvements. You can find example questions in the Excel accelerators for the respective surveys mentioned by using the filters that are color-coded according to the type of surveys mentioned here. With that, I will pass along to Christina to tell us a bit more about the Activate book.
Thanks, Sing. Following up with OCM and COE, you can find more information in addition to the roadmap viewer. You can find it in the second edition of the SAP Activate book, which is now available. You can get a hard copy or ebook format at SAP Press and the links there. If you use the code SAP Act 15, you get 15% off. Also, there is a blog post that Jan Musil wrote, which talks about the changes from the first book to the second book. So you can read more about the changes as well as more information. And that's where you can find information about the SAP Activate book.
Thanks, Christina. So I guess I'll thank you for everybody for sharing your slides and for sharing these concepts. I will quick jump into the questions and we can kind of have a dialogue right now. So maybe we can all be on camera and stop sharing the screen so we can actually talk through some of these concepts. So again, first of all, thank you for sharing. I really appreciated the content. And then I guess to jump into it, Ying, you had shared the XM transformation and roadmap viewer, right? How does one go about accessing it, and how can I filter just on the XM content within the roadmap viewer?
Sure, I can actually, share my screen again and show you live in the roadmap viewer what that content looks like. Earlier in the slide deck, I have a picture showing. So let me go ahead. Can you guys all see my screen?
Yep.
So this is one of our roadmap, which I mentioned earlier in the Rise with the SAP S/4HANA Cloud Private Edition. And inside, on the left-hand side, there's the future experience management. If you highlight that, you will be able to see a list of the deliverables and the tasks that are relevant for the experience management transformation. And if you get into one of the tasks, that you will see, for example, the list of accelerators that I mentioned early on, especially the Excel gives you the detailed list of sample questions that you can actually, download and utilize that in your project.
Awesome, thank you. We have a question from the chat. Do we need a Qualtrics license to use the XM transformation surveys?
Qualtrics, of course, is a product that a customer will need to, talk to the sales and get access to. But these sample questions are, in simple format in an Excel. You can filter by the respective type of survey that we mentioned earlier and be able to download. So in a sense that you can actually send an email to get feedbacks or SurveyMonkey, whatever the tool that you choose to. But the concept, I think what's important is that we want to introduce the concept of experience management starting earlier when we have implementation projects for S/4HANA Cloud products.
Awesome. And then what type of skill set would be needed for someone wanting to use the roadmap viewer and the survey?
I think it's not very difficult. I want to say everybody had the right cloud mindset to be able to make a good use of the survey, as Irene kind of mentioned earlier.
Awesome. Yeah, I think to add to that on the skill set point of view, and what we have been sharing throughout the call here is, as long as you understand the process and what's needed and kind of have that people side of things and people management side of things and are able to actually understand that process, I feel like any of these accelerators that are provided, any of these concepts that are provided, we should be able to implement within our project timeframe, correct?
Absolutely, absolutely. Good point, Nisha.
Awesome. And then kind of switching gears a little bit, I kind of want to talk about OCM, right? How much would you stress OCM for a project if I'm involved in it? And what if some of the members on the team feel like OCM is not an important concept? How would you address that?
I need to jump straight there. It's so important. You can never ever say that you can never say it isn't, because basically, as we were pointing it earlier, if OCM looks after people, looks after that tension of the change basically that happens with any new implementation. So if that is not given, if the importance and the space, time, budgeting isn't given, then I mean, it is deemed the project is deemed to fail, unfortunately, and we've seen several examples of it, unfortunately. So it's really, whether it's the customer that takes care of OCM, the partner implementing that can take care of OCM, but it really is give it the importance where it's due, basically. Andreas, I don't know if you want to add anything from your side.
I don't need to. You said it all.
Yeah.
So very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then kind of talking about the implementation and the processes, right? Whether it's OCM, COE, or XM transformation. Is it like a one-time implementation that we're doing in the beginning of the process and then you're forgetting about it? Or is it like an ongoing, continuous evolution?
Yeah, I think, again, as mentioned it at the beginning, and I tried to keep that up with that sustainability notion, right? Having like continuous adoption. You're not going to get rid of organizational change management when the product is changing underneath, right? So the idea is really to put in place structures, capabilities in the organization that will help the organization to keep adopting the change in the product. And especially when you have a subscription-based service like SAP S/4HANA Cloud, right? You would want to do that because you want the innovation that comes with it. You want to adopt that innovation that comes with it, and that innovation comes in half annual increments, and you can actually, if you want to, you can do it faster than that, right? So, but you have to be able to do it. Right? You have to be able to actually adopt that innovation into your business processes, into the way how you operate. So this capability is something that will have to stay with the organization if you want to be successful as an organization.
So thank you. Then we have a question from Gustavo in the chat. Could you talk a bit more on PCOE on a RISE context?
PCOE as in? Maybe you need to clarify.
Gustavo, you want to clarify in the chat?
Please.
Maybe it kind of relates to the COE content Andreas had shared within the RISE framework.
Maybe you can explain more on that, Andreas.
So yeah, I may have said it explicitly or more implicitly. Like there is a it's floating about basically right now the concept of a partner center of excellence that they would provide for multiple customers, right? Where they have the expertise and they organize the expertise in such a way that they can cater to multiple customers. And it could be very relevant to especially like the mid-sized organizations that are probably the strongest in cloud application adoption. That would offer customers an opportunity to tap into basically a completely virtualized COE that their partners would offer to them and that they can subscribe to. So that would be what I would understand as a PCOE, right? A partner center of excellence that in a way emulates the concept of customer COE, but provides it as a service to customers.
Awesome, thank you. And then to continue our conversation, so we talked about change management, we talked about COE, we talked about XM transformation. what are similarities between these three, and like how important is it to align the three different concepts, and what's important when it comes to an implementation, and what are some of the learnings that we can get from it?
My word is they are interdependent and interconnected 100%. It's just they are a one work stream, really, because one can't live without the other. So OCM is the work stream that looks after the transition. Experience management is basically what sustains and helps that transition and ensures that it's happening and ensures that like it's in touch with the people, because the experience management, it's always like the thermometer leveling, right? And then COE ensures that innovation is taking place, that that the knowledge is there, new entrants are in the game. Yeah, that's my 2 cents in here.
Awesome. Thank you.
Maybe the others want to chip in.
Yeah, I can't agree with more, to be very honest. And that is the reason why all three of us is on the call together, presenting the concept, rather than just one of us talking about it, because I think people is complex, right? And there's no magic bullet to hit it right. You really have to, I think, as the experience management, the principle, you have to really kind of listen and understand and act. I think what we try to provide is really some tools and a framework, bring the awareness so that you have to adjust and really listen to your own customers and your own people within the organization, and really to find out which element that you're going to pick as the tool from the OCM workstream in general in order to implement in your organization, which will make the most impact.
Awesome, thank you. And then since we are talking about OCM within exam, you mentioned a survey earlier, Ying. Are some of those survey questions throughout the process dealing with the people side of things, right? Like people, process, change, like are we kind of keeping that in mind when we are learning about the different touch points throughout the implementation?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the idea of the sample question. And as the slide also shows, these survey question is planted like throughout the journey. Not only just the implementation journey, but also the post-go live journeys. When people started utilizing it, you have to continuously check back with them, and to assess the feeling, right, as well, whether they like it, and also it's a great source of input to collect new additional requirements, to continuously improve and leverage new solutions that is coming up from SAP, because we do try to continuously provide these kind of enhancements.
Awesome, thank you. And then within the roadmap, you shared it that it's in the private cloud edition for now. Can we expect it to be embedded into the other roadmaps, or what is the future for this?
There's definitely, the use of it, as it is such an important topic. But we want to kind of first introduce in the private cloud edition, because that is where we feel like we have all the different elements and pieces, from an OCM perspective. And we want to collect some feedbacks first before we start, move on to the public cloud space.
Awesome, thank you. And then we talked about cloud mindset a little bit, right? What role does cloud mindset play with all these three different concepts, and how can our customers and partners start thinking more cloud, and how do these concepts actually help enable our customers to shift their mindset to the new buzzword that's cloud, right? So can you guys talk a little bit about that?
Andreas, do you want to?
Irene, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, it's the chicken and the egg, right? Because it's the cloud mindset on one side, we have to have a cloud mindset. But then on the other side, you have all this new technology that you have to adopt. So in a way, yeah, you adopt because you have a cloud mindset, or you have a cloud mindset because, So basically what I would say here very clearly is that cloud is fundamentally a different way of working. It instills fundamental different ways of working together, right? And with all these tools that we show, all this, so why would you need this mindset? Because you have to be ready and willing to change. So, and that's why we keep saying it's that growth mindset, because cloud mindset can sound a little bit artificial somehow. But if you say growth, if you say you're willing to engage, in a different way of working, then like things kind of change, right? I think that's my take on it. Andreas, what would you say?
Yeah, so the speed of business is accelerating, right? Like you can read the foreword of the SAP Activate book. I have it right here, right? Jan Gilg, Jan Gilg writes so nicely, and Christian Klein, our CEO, said it at every opportunity, just at Sapphire recently. The speed of business is accelerating. If you want to be able to keep up or get in front of what's happening in the world, you have to be like super fast. And one of the ways how to be fast is to standardize your business processes as much as you possibly can. And standardization then in turn is an enabler of automation, which helps you with that speed that you need to have and that you need to keep having. It also is an enabler of enabling, right? Of enabling more people in the organization. So if you want to be able to grow, you need to be able to educate, to enable your people to actually understand how these business processes all work. Standardization is one of those main ways how to do that, because once you standardize, it's really easy for everyone to understand.
Yeah.
You just comply with the standard, and then you know how it's done. You can tap into the learning content that is standardized, that is available. You don't have to develop it, right? So standardization is one of those key enablers of that speed and of that growth that most of our customers are after right now, right? And then the other aspect of it is, well, the capability to innovate. And with cloud-based products, with subscription-based products like SAP S/4HANA Cloud, you get that innovation as part of the subscription. All you have to do is adopt, right? But you have to have that mindset. You have to have that capability to actually do it that way, right? Instead of reinventing the wheel yourself, you just use the innovation that comes with the product. So that's why like this cloud mindset is such an important thing. Standardize, innovate, adopt, right?
Awesome. No, that's true, right? Like when we're adapting that, I personally, when I'm thinking of cloud mindset, it's like I need to also implement the changes within myself to be able to better understand, and then I can be like a better multiplier for the concept. And then, so as we're kind of talking about this, what are some of the challenges that are faced by customers when they're thinking about whether it's change management, whether it's COE, or whether it's XM transformation? What are some of the challenges that our customers and partners have faced? Do we have examples of that?
Plenty. Plenty. The biggest challenge is to do it early enough, like get your head around these concepts early enough, right? It's important to get this early, to understand what's at stake and how to actually get, like, how to work towards achieving those intended results. Early is important. The earlier you are, the sooner you get your head around these concepts and you allocate your resources, the more likely it's going to be that you have everything in place when you need it. And that's like, you remember Irene's train journey example. You want your people to be on a platform before the train gets there, just before the train gets there, but they need to be ready to board, right? So you have to get your people around to that point. You have to do the enablement beforehand, because otherwise they're going to miss the train, right? And that's the issue, right? The issue is you might miss the train, and in terms of business, that means you're missing out on business value, right? You're missing out on the actual business value, on the innovation that you're after. And that would be a bummer, right? Yeah. And like your whole value proposition falls apart. You don't want that. You want to be well prepared early on. And that's like a theme throughout, like it's for OCM, it's for XM, it's for any enablement, it's for the CCOE. If you establish those things early, and the SAP Activate roadmap suggests that, right? If you're prepared early on and you take care of things like commensurate with the progress throughout the project, you'll be able to do it well, and you'll do it in time. Just don't forget any steps, right? Don't think you can skip over it. That's why these little yellow boxes were so important that I pointed out, the quality gates, right? You have to actually be on time to meet the quality gates with the activities. And that's why SAP Activate is such a great concept, because it actually brings you to the right platform at the right time. Basically, it brings you to the right point in time with the activities that prepare for success.
May I add you there, Andreas, that perhaps as well, I mean, to have these structures in place in the companies, in the organizations, to have the people responsible for transformation, for this, and to identify the change agents, identify the people that will help this change to happen, and that will adopt early, call them the early adopters. So as well, this is so important. So again, remember that time plan has to be given for it to happen. Otherwise, and I have had several customers telling me in their experience, the vision wasn't communicated. We didn't have any preparation. We didn't know about the system before it went live, almost, no training. So that is, again, let's invert, let's do it properly, and then it will be successful.
Awesome, thank you. Mm-hmm. And then since we talked about the Activate book, right? Thanks, Christina, for sharing the slides and the links. Are these concepts included in the book? And what are some of the changes from the first edition to the second? And how can I find those changes to see, like, if I want to buy the second one?
I'm not familiar with the changes, but you can find the changes in Jan's blog that he wrote, which is linked. I don't know if anyone that actually has a copy of the book, if they know of the changes. Andreas, I'm sure he has a copy. Yes. You're probably familiar with some of the changes if you want to mention some of them.
So obviously some new implementation capabilities have been introduced, like with S/4HANA Cloud. For example, we now have the central business configuration available that is being addressed now in the second edition. On the topic of two-tier deployments, like hybrid landscapes, right? There's a lot more content available nowadays, so the book takes care of that. There was probably a third one. Oh yeah, 3SL, the three-system landscape, right? Is one of those topics that is upcoming for SAP S/4HANA Cloud. So I think it's about the August, and then of course chapter 10 on organizational change management is completely reviewed, and it contains, of course, a customer center of excellence. It does not yet contain XM. So Ying, thank you very much for introducing that concept to us today, right here. So you're ahead of the book. The book needs a third edition soon. things are moving too fast.
But that's the thing about being adaptable, right? Being more agile is change is constant.
It is.
Yeah. So I just looked at the time. We are on time right now, but thank you so much for sharing your insights and for sharing the concepts with us and answering the questions. I did want to talk to the community a little bit. So if you don't already follow us on SAP Community, we have a subtopic page that has been rebranded. So please take a look at it. You have some links on important Activate documents that you can access. And then as Ying had shared, there's the roadmap viewer that has a lot of content that's available that is linked on our community as well. So feel free to engage with us there. And then obviously, if you have a topic that you want to share insights on, you're welcome to write blog posts. If you have specific questions, feel free to type those in the community, and this team here, and then we have more product managers from the Activate side who are active on the community and will get you the answers right away. So we look forward to seeing you more on the community, and thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, everyone, also from my side. So to the SAP Activate team, Nishat, for taking on the challenge of moderating the Q&A and to actually accelerate the dialogue between our speakers here. Irene, Andreas, Ying, and Christina, thank you so much for presenting. I shared a lot of links in the chat. Please, SAP Community, check it out. Upcoming SAP Community calls in our groups, for instance. To be mindful of everyone's time, I would like to thank everyone, and I hope to see you all soon again in our upcoming SAP Community calls.
Thank you.
And thank you, Lena,
you
for
so much.
moderating.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you.